Indirect proofs are probably one of the more annoying things that you're going to see in geometry. It's a process that is literally the opposite of what you're used to. So if I were you, I'd gather some paper, get ready to write, because we're going to do some writing today. Better to do some writing than to do some wronging. Am I right, bros? Let's see. Opening up the chat to respond. There's a few chat windows open. I'm waiting for a bunch of ha-ha-ha's and those XVs that I like. Not getting anything. Mr. Perich woke up spitting facts. Thank you, Paul. All right. This is how I view indirect proofs. You're going to see something like I don't know. Well, I lost my train of thought. The carpet store that Stewart Middle School uses only has blue carpet. Prove that Stewart's carpet is blue. And so you're going to be like, well, let's assume that it's red. I'm going to assume that it's red. And then Johnny over here says, the store only sells blue carpet. Therefore, you're wrong. And then that kid goes, silly me. Contradiction. Therefore, Stewart only has blue carpet. Right? Remember that conversation you guys had, the conversation you saw the other day where they were like a bunch of cool bros talking about what's going on Friday about the test. And someone's like, but they have, teachers have teacher development. Oh, yeah, so we can't have a test. Oh, you know what? I'm holding down one thing. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to be told to prove something. You're going to assume the opposite. Stewart's carpet is red. Or I'm sorry, prove Stewart's carpet is blue. So Johnny over here is going to say, well, I'm going to assume that the carpet is red. Step one. Or I'm going to assume that it's not blue. It's usually the safer thing to do. I'm going to assume it's not blue. Step two is show that that assumption is a lie. So your friend says, Stewart's carpet is not blue. And you're like, oh, yeah? So it's a lie. It's a lie. And since it's a lie, then the original conclusion was correct. It's anytime you now that we're in an area of social, or like my kids, every time they go outside to play, when they come in, we ask them to wash their hands. And so when they come in from the house, they are to wash their hands. My son comes in, and 3 minutes later, I'm like, did you wash your hands? And he says, yes. And I'm going to say, I need you to prove to wash your hands. So I'm going to assume that he didn't. I say, give me your hands, boy. And I smell his hands. And it smells like earth and not soap. So he lied to me. So then I go and I take my paddle, which I call the Board of Education. I pop him a few times on the rear end and say, don't do it again, son. Don't do it again. Therefore, he did not wash his hands. I think I screwed that up. I also think I incriminated myself. All right. Shall we move on to the next part? List? Probably. Probably. We are. Let's talk about a real life problem. Mr. Perich was born in 1983. Those are facts. So Mr. Perich is older than 30. There's a picture of my YouTube face. I'm now at 400 subscribers. Thanks everybody who helped me out with that. I I sure don't look like I'm older than 30, that's for sure. Oops, somebody made a comment. No problem. Thanks, Paul. It was mostly Paul who did it. Mr. Perich was born in 1983, so Mr. Perich is older than 30. All right, well, let's assume Mr. Perich is younger than 30. So you're all hanging out in class. Dummy over here says, Mr. Perich is younger than 30, and you look at the board. How are you going to prove them wrong? This is your time to shine. This guy over here, like I wrote that my birth year is 1983. Exactly right. So Santiago, so this is like we're talking real life situation here, kind of, where, I'm just like, my birth year is 1983, everyone, and some kid in the back of the room says, you're younger than 30. And Santi says, but, so we'll say, however, I like using those mathy words. However, 2001 minus 1983 is 38. Somebody put something in the chat and I missed it.
Raph said 38.
Good, thank you. So I'm actually 38. Fun fact. Which means if I'm 38, 2001. Oh boy, do I wish I was 19 again. Wait a minute, 18. Woo! Well, they're paying attention. So I'm actually 38 years old because the current year is 2021. So Mr. Perich is not younger than 30. And I always like to use, this is one of my favorite math words. You ready? Therefore, Mr. Perich is older than 30. Those of you writing it down, I'll give you a minute to play catch up. Then I'll explain. I'll sit here for about a minute, give you guys a minute to digest it, and then we'll explain what I did. So what I did is my job was to prove that I'm older than 30. Ding Dong in the back here says Mr. Perich is younger than 30. Fancy says 2021 minus 1983 is 38. So you guys should be able to be like, yeah, so he's not younger than 30. And then that means, oh, so he's older than 30. When you write it out, it's kind of like a 4-step process. And I know we wrote out 3 steps before, but I write out 4 sentences. You assume the opposite, you catch them in a lie, which means their original statement was wrong, which means you're right. Assume the opposite, catch them in their lie, their original assumption was wrong, which means the conclusion was right. Assume, lie, wrong, right. Okay. 35 students went on a canoeing expedition. They rented 17 canoes for the trip. Prove at least one canoe had more than a kid in it. 35 students went on a canoeing expedition. They rented 17 canoes for the trip. Oh, a canoe. That's what that picture is. It's a canoe. Let's assume, and this is what I have to prove, at least one canoe had more than one kid. So let's assume each canoe had only one kid. So I have to prove that at least one canoe had more than one kid. So we're going to assume, all right, well, no, every canoe had. So, hey, guys, we're going on a canoeing trip. There's 35 of you and 17 canoes. And Dummy in the back here says, ah, yes, we each get our own canoe. And someone says, well, wait a minute. That's not possible. Why? This is where you fight back. There's 35 of you and 17 canoes, and the kid over here writing out in red says, ah, each kid gets their own canoe. You're going to say, no, because, do some math, easy math. Type it up in the chat. Easy math.
Santi got it.
Oh, he did? Oh,
A
did
while
we?
ago. 35 divided by 17.
35 divided by 17 is like what, 2 point something? So, at least one canoe is going to have more than one person. Oh, wait a minute. That should be my last sentence. Don't write that out yet. Look at that. All right, so before I end that, I should say, so one, you know, no, we can stop there. I think that's good. I'm trying to come up with a nice in-between sentence and I can't come up with one. So I'm okay with this. I'm okay with that. Because that's what we're trying to prove, right? Yeah. Boy, canoeing expedition sounds like fun. Hey, gang. Russ is coming. Hooray! Let's move on to the next one. What am I going to assume here? If 3x plus 7 is 19, then x equals 5. Let's assume, I'm sorry, if 3x plus 7 equals 19, then x does not equal 5. Let's assume, what? All I have to do is type out 3 symbols and then hit enter. What are we going to assume? Unless somebody already did it. Oh, wait. X equals 5. Yes, it's telling us x does not equal 5, so we're going to assume the opposite, that x equals 5. So I give you this statement up here. I say, hey, everybody, if 3x plus 7 is 19, then x can't be 5. And dummy back here says, yaha, x does equal 5. How are you going to prove them wrong? Simple word. Give me one word. How are you going to prove them wrong? Killing me today, these kids. Is it the rain? I could plug 5 into the problem. I like it. I was going to say solve the equation. But I like Paul's idea. Let's go with Paul's idea. Is that 22? That's what Paul said. What were we supposed to get? We were supposed to get 19, but we got 22. So is x 5? Athena! So is x 5? This is where one of you say, starts with an N. No, thanks, Ref, and thanks, Paul. So we can end it right there. Done. Now, Paul did it differently. The way I would have done it, I would have solved the equation and got 4, and 4 is not 5. Hi, Athena. Okay, so this is what we're supposed to, again, when you do these, whenever it says prove or then or whatever, you're supposed to pretend that there's somebody in the back of the room telling you the opposite. And the opposite of x equals 5, the opposite of x does not equal 5, is x equals 5. And then Paul says, yeah, but if I plug in 5, 3 times 5 plus 7 is 19. It's not 19, it's 22, the Taylor Swift special. I'm supposed to get 19, so it's not 5, so it's not 5, and that's what I was supposed to prove in the first place. Okay. Keep coming over here. It's this button that you did hit. Oof, now it gets weird. Take a minute to write that down. Those of you who are writing it down. Let n be an integer. Remember, an integer is a number that has no decimals. Could be positive, could be negative. So n is a positive or negative whole number. Could be 0. show that if n squared is even, then n is also even. So I am trying to prove this. So what's the opposite of that? What's the opposite of that if we're trying to prove n is even? You said it, what did you say?
N is not.
N is not even. Give me another word for not even. You'll have one of two options. For some of you, it's a self-descriptor. Odd. Gosh, I can't wait to. Okay. Yes, it is odd. I can always count on Santi. I make fun of him ruthlessly, but at least I can count on him. Let's assume n is odd. Give me a specific number. Let's try a specific number. Give me a specific odd number. Come on. Great. I don't know why I put Lynn. So if I take 3, what am I going to do to 3 to prove that it is not even? What am I going to do to 3 to show that it is not even, to show that it is odd? I mean, what's the main thing that I'm supposed to do in this problem with my number? Square it. Good. So I'm telling you that if I square an even number, I get an even number. Dummy in the back here says, no, if you square 3, you get an even number. And you're like, no, 3 squared is 9, which is not even. What did Jill just say?
Lily just texted me saying she can't get on, like the site won't.
Does she not have internet? Maybe her internet's down. That's fine. I'm recording this. She'll have to just watch this on her own, I guess. Thank you, Angel. Oh boy. Thank you, Jill.
Excuse you?
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
This is why I haven't been paying attention. I've been just watching the video.
Sorry. I'm sorry. She nailed me right away. So n is also even. So your approach, again, is blue here is always dummy in the back. Okay, you're given a fact. Dummy in the back says the opposite. You're going to prove them wrong. And by proving them wrong, the original assumption was correct. Okay? All right, America! America! Ooh, that's a lot to write out. You don't need to write it out, those of you at home, which is all of you. Oh, you know what? I never filled it up. You The area of USA is about 6 million square miles. Whoa! The area of Hawaii is about 11,000 square miles. Use an indirect proof to show at least one of the 50 states has an area greater than 120,000 square miles. So I have to prove that at least one state is bigger than that. So dummy in the back is going to say, nah, all states are what? Dummy in the back says, nah, all states are less than. Thank you, Santi. Let's assume, I forgot let's, all states are less than 120,000 square miles. Dummy in the back says that. How are you going to prove them wrong? I know Santi's eventually going to tell me the answer. I'd love to hear somebody else. Anybody, please. Somebody else, please say the word divide. I'm giving you the answer now. Just say divide. Divide. And of course it was Santi. Divide 6 million by what? Somebody say it. What are we going to divide 6 million by to prove that one of these states, or all, the average is going to be greater than that number? What are we going to divide it by? Nope, sorry. Although, that could be an answer. Yeah, that's the one I want. Yeah, Santi, that's the one I want. Well, you're not wrong, technically, but I like this number better because this way, hey Siri, what's 6 million divided by 50? Hey Siri. Hey Siri! 6 million divided by 50. Oh. Equals. Now you might be concerned because you're thinking that's 120,000. Well, I'm assuming that all states are less than 120,000. Is 120,000 less than 120,000? No. So, not all states are less than 120,000 square miles, which means one state has an area greater than that. One more. You can do it. Put your mind into it. I believe in you. I want everybody in the chat to say, I am, and then say your name. You're special. You're wonderful. Someone out there loves you. It doesn't matter what you've been through, you can conquer this. This worked for the guy on Wednesday. Why isn't it working for me? Maybe if I change the name of my class to I'm finna teach the M, they'd actually respond to me better. If I played inspirational music in the background. I am Athena, you're welcome, LOL. Thank you, Athena. All right, one more problem. So here's a picture. Angle 2 and angle 3 are alternate interior angles. But they all don't add up to 180. So I'm going to prove that A and B are not parallel. So let's assume so I am given angle 2, which is an alternate interior angle to 3. I'm given the fact that they do not add up to 180. I am to prove that angle A and B are not parallel. So what am I going to assume? I have to prove that line A and line B, I think I said angle before, didn't I? Yes, that they are parallel. Good. Assume A and B are parallel. If A and B are parallel, then that would mean that angle 2 and angle 3 add up to 180. But what? If they're parallel, that would mean that 2 and 3 add up to 180. But what? But what? But what? But what? Angle 2 and 3 what? See, the problem is if angle or lines A and B are parallel, that would mean that angle 2 and angle 3 add up to 180. But angle 2 and angle 3 don't add up to 180. And since they don't add up to 180, what does that mean? They're not what? 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 Parallel.